Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast, is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up, kids? Welcome back to Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Tom Clark here with you, as always, with Jay Luft and Joe Higgens. Today, we're tackling episode 5 from season 2. So there you have it. We hope you guys are ready to roll. Can't wait to get into it here today. Lots of fun stuff to talk about. This is a huge episode. We hope that you packed a lunch and, told your significant other that you love them, because we're going to be here for a while. All right. We're estimating 6.5 hours. So, this may end up being a 5-part episode. We're not quite sure yet. So just hang on. I've only got like 16 pages of notes. We'll do the best we can.
Every single film reference in this.
Every single reference.
There's a lot to unpack with this one.
A lot of them.
Not just the rom-com nods and winks, but the actual story beats are tremendous in this. Yeah, I think this is the most amount of notes I've written for any episode.
Yeah, it's
They're huge. They're huge. There's so much to get into, but I can't wait to get into it. So, guys, as we come into episode 5, we know that episode 4 was the Christmas episode. We all thoroughly enjoyed that. We got to wear some cool Santa hats. Well, 2 of us did.
I'm still wearing my woolly hat.
I'm saying.
All year round for me, just saying.
All right. Well, that's fine. We'll let it go. We'll allow it. What's the line from Law and Order? I'll allow it, but you watch your step, McCoy. All right. So there you go. We just came off that episode and we're heading into episode 5. Episode 4, for lack of a better term, is maybe evergreen to a large extent. You don't really need to know what happened in the first 3. You know what I mean? They could have kicked off season 2 with episode 4, technically, minus a few other things, but it's kind of something you can watch. And I guess that's the point, kids, is to make it something you can watch any Christmas and not have to be emotionally invested in the story and still thoroughly enjoy it. But guys, we're back to the story. We're back to the narrative of season 2 with episode 5. Going into this, what do you guys think coming off episode 4? Joe, start with you.
Again, like you said, episode 4 is one of those episodes that doesn't further the story at any point. It is just a Christmas episode that is designed to make you feel good, make you feel nice inside. And it does. It's a tremendous episode. But it has done nothing to further what we know going forward. It's one of those things that I think I said at the time, like, you could show this to anyone and they would know what, who everyone is, because everyone's kind of broad stroked with it. But after what happens in episode 3, we can take 4 out of the equation. Episode 5 now is where season 2 kicks fully into gear for me. A lot of stuff will be coming at you thick and fast, with people's job roles changing, people's characters changing. Like, there's a lot happens in this episode. And as we've said before, we've said all the way through this, there is nothing in there that isn't there for a reason. So a lot of stuff is planted and a lot of stuff is harvested, is reaped in this episode as well. And it's for me, this is where Ted Lasso hits its stride. It's also incredibly funny. It's one of those, it's so dense with jokes that you miss them. It's like 30 Rock when it was good. You know what I mean? It's that thing of, it's just bam, 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 like the Airplane movie, or it's just constant. And it isn't like, if you just throw enough stuff, some jokes will land. Everything is good. Like, there's no wasted motion in it. It's a tremendous piece of script writing and acting and everything. It's just one of those episodes that you go, this should have won more awards.
Yeah. And Jay, to Joe's point, we're really getting on track here. What do you think about us here heading into episode 5?
I think I didn't realize how much this episode kind of plays as a catalyst for everything that's going to come, not just in this season, but in season 3 as well. There's so much long-term stuff that pays off way, way later on in the show. The stuff that obviously gets the ball rolling for things that are going to happen in an episode or two or further down the line in this season. It's for my money, I think this might be the best episode of Ted Lasso that they've done. Just because of, as Joe said, like the writing's amazing, the delivery of everything's amazing, like all the jokes land, everything. Even like subtle little nods where it's just like, yeah, that's great. I think all three of us are probably going to have like kind of very like similar but different perspectives on it, and point out things that.
I've just remembered the bit where Roy's doing the training bit and they're walking down that alleyway and his phone just lights up, and it's just, again, it's a stupid dumb throwaway joke, but it's just done so really well. It's sickening.
Yeah, it's
so good.
It's just a brilliant episode.
Man, do we have a lot to live up to? I'll tell you. We just set the stage for how great this is. Let's try not to F it up. So let's dive into it, kids, and let's get cranking on this. We are on to episode 5. This episode is entitled Rainbow. Yes, we're in season 2 of Ted Lasso, and it's a big one, kids. A whole lot to get to here today. Can't wait to tackle it. So this episode, as we said, there's 12 episodes in season 2, just like there are in season 3. The original air date for Rainbow is August 20th, 2021. This episode is directed by Erica Dunton on a story by Bill Wrubel. And we're ready to roll here, guys. Let's do this. When last we left the Ted Lasso gang, we saw Roy and Keeley spending Christmas on a mission to find a dentist to combat Phoebe's halitosis, as Ted and Rebecca work together to help deliver gifts to children in need, all culminating in a festive dinner and holiday celebration at the Higgens house. Fun episode. We highly recommend the Christmas episode, so you guys should definitely check it out if you haven't done it yet. It's awesome. So we open episode 5 with Swinging on a Rainbow by Frankie Avalon. And let me say real quick, right out the gate, this song sounds like it was just recorded. I mean, there's something to be said for how crisp and clean this sounds. I was almost like, is that Avalon or is that someone that's covered it? That's the original guy, which is effing nuts to me.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange song because it feels timeless in that respect. Like you said, I was like, is this the proper version? And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, like, has it been polished up? No, it was just incredibly well recorded.
Just incredibly well recorded. And Avalon probably doesn't get enough flowers because the dude was that voice. My God, great stuff. I couldn't kick us off without at least mentioning that. So we see Nate. We open on Nate. Man, have we got lots to talk about. Nate is on his way, right? Nate is on his way to a Taste of Athens restaurant. He tries going through the wrong door, as only Nate would. He then approaches the hostess at the podium. He says, "Good afternoon." And there's a long pause. He's waiting for her, and she doesn't respond. He's very awkward. Dude, let me say right out the gate that the character of Jade, it's one of the, I don't know, these two guys are made for each other because she is as socially awkward as he is.
See, I don't know whether she is. I think she's just rude.
Well, I was thinking that too. Are you right?
I think for like later on, they sort of go, let's make her a bit more sort of like socially inept. But in this, she just comes across as like, we've all worked in customer service and you're like, yeah, you, I hate you, customers. But she just comes across as what? And I'm like, it's Taste of Athens, so you can probably get away with that. And when we meet the owner, who is a mess, you can understand why she was hired. But she just comes, like, if someone goes, excuse me, you at least turn around and acknowledge them. You don't just
right.
Like, it's to me, it feels like she's rude because she realizes that this is a little man that she doesn't have to give any attention to.
Do you think it's?
I don't know.
Do you think it's the European thing as well? To go to like, because she's Polish, isn't she? So it could be like the kind of like culture difference.
Possibly, but
and they don't really establish like that she's Polish until like
much later
on. Yeah.
Again, I just think it's just designed to be rude and to humiliate Nate.
I suppose as well, like the whole like point of the kind of journey they go on in this episode is that she just kind of looks down her nose at Nate, and then he makes a notice of it by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It almost feels like she was a throwaway character, and then they've kind of gone, oh, I see a little bit more legs to this, and then thought maybe
possibly, yeah. But again, as we've already said, that like nothing in Ted Lasso is there by accident. So
yeah.
But I think it's much later on, like when we see her later on in the series stuff, she does come across more socially awkward.
Well, we don't see it again after this episode.
Well, sorry, in later seasons, not to ruin it, but she does come across as more like Nate in those. More like Nate is at this point, as opposed to what he becomes.
Yeah.
But it's just in this episode, she just strikes me as someone who like hates her job and hates the people that come into this restaurant, which we've all been there.
Oh yeah, that's fair. So we find out her name's Jade because Nate says, this is my mom and dad's favorite restaurant. Friday's their 35th wedding anniversary. Jade. And she says, how do you know my name? By the way, Jade, played by Adita Budnick, she says, how do you know my name? He says, oh, I don't. That's what the 35th wedding anniversary is, Jade. She asks what time. He tells her and says he wants the window table. And this seems to be a problem. She has to go get Derek. Like, why exactly do you have to go get Derek for this? You know what I mean? Like,
it's a tiny, from all accounts, kind of rubbish Greek restaurant. Where is it? It's like Hackney. It's in like, it's in the middle of nowhere. Tooting. You know, notorious for its Greek population. So why is like, and also you want people in the window to make it look full. Like that's how you draw people in. And it's just like she just goes, I have to go ask Derek.
Maybe that's why, because like obviously the window seat's never full, and the restaurant by all accounts is never full. So maybe that's why it's like such an issue that they're sitting people in the window, because like, oh yeah, it's not full.
Go and ask Derek, and he stands there.
Yeah.
Like a wet end, just not doing anything.
And as he's standing there, he sees Gillette Soccer Saturday on the TV, and he sees Roy. And this is awesome. Jez says, Roy, your old mob in Richmond, they're struggling. There are a lot of theories as to why that might be. One that's gaining traction is a lack of leadership from your successor is Captain Isaac McAdoo. Roy says, Isaac's a good lad. He'll find his way. George, the great George Cartrick, says, under Ted Lasso, Richmond, well, they're like a woman behind the wheel, completely lost. And Roy says, George, didn't you lose your license drink driving? And George says, that was an allergic reaction to my medication. The same medication that made you piss your pants. Just great.
It's just like, again, like you can't help but kind of love George because he seems to be like part of that old school football manager sort of thing. Yeah. But Roy's not having any of it. Like he's just like, I'm not being spoken down to by you. Every episode as well, though, whenever George says anything, he just slaps him down because he's a thingy manager, isn't he?
Mm.
He's a mid-table manager, like just a relegation dodger.
That's the word, yeah.
Also, what you've probably got to remember is Roy, like, until Ted come along, George was Roy's boss. So Roy probably has a lot of, like, deep-seated resentment towards him because of that.
And
that's fair.
Probably a lot of salacious stories as well.
Yeah, and and now he doesn't have to kind of bite his tongue because of a risk of getting like moved on or losing his job. He can just go, oh yeah, I hate George.
Yeah, I mean you do. He's designed to be, but it is that thing of as well. I always like the fact that like Roy doesn't temper his language for TV, and most of the time it's people apologizing for him all the way. And it's like they wouldn't have him on telly, or there would be a delay and someone with the big beat button. Like
he'd be like one of those pundits who they're like, "Oh yeah, we've got him. We're ready for him this time," and then he'll say something, and I'll be like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!"
It's like what is the Staples gimmick? The red button Staples. That was easy. You print like they got the big red button waiting. All right, go. Yeah. They have to hit it. You know what I mean? I just picture a button that says Roy above it. And there's a dude, he's paid to sit there and listen, right? smashing the hell out of it. For our American audience, basically George Cartrick, if I had to sum it up, he's cranky grandpa at the cookout that you hope either doesn't come, or when he comes, maybe you can avoid him because he's going to make people go, "Oh my God, grandpa." You know what I mean?
Yeah. He's got a lot
Says
of
all the wrong things.
deep-seated old world views, like women not being able to drive very well, or I don't even want to say the rest of them because they're going to be awful. And
Oh,
you
they're
know
gonna
they're
be-
in there.
Yeah. Much worse.
And when he's
worse.
when he's had a drink, you know, they come out.
Oh,
Of course.
It's gonna
So-
be better if they were like weird ones, though. It was like, oh, never get your teeth done by a Polish dentist. What's that even mean, Grandad? It's just like, you know, bizarre stuff.
Yeah. Stuff that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that would be him for sure.
You'll be
So
thanking me later.
yeah,
Never let an Australian clean your car, you know.
remember I told you. It's
Yeah,
all
you'll
you
be
always
thanking
have
me
to.
later.
Yeah, you always have to follow it up with, "Don't forget I told you." Yeah, that kind of
Remember
thing. Yeah, remember that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I got a lot of Australian car balloting services. Yeah,
Should do a whole episode of George Cartrick. That's more fun than I thought it would be. So
again,
Jay,
he becomes more fun as the series
It is-
progresses. Though
he does.
He's just kind of a bumhole at this point, though. Yeah,
He does. Yeah. Jay comes back and says, "Great news. We can set aside the table in the corner for you." And I'm like, "What is going on with
It
this
says the one
Jade
right near
person?"
the toilet.
Yeah.
It says the one near the toilet, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Well,
And-
I don't get it. I don't get it. She's, and Joe, honestly, I think you're right. I don't know if she's awkward as much as she is. She's effing rude, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
So-
doesn't he try and pull out the "I'm friends with Roy Kent" card,
Yes.
and she goes, "Was he going to be here?"
Yeah, but it goes back to like what we find out then, like in the following season about Derek, doesn't it? It's like
Mm.
he very much wants like that window seat to be people he wants to be seen in that window seat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
not-
is it not better to have bums on seat than nobody in the restaurant? It's there again. Derek is a massive.
I mean,
Problem.
he's in the office for a reason right now. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Even though it's
That's
very
fair.
early in the morning, he's probably not been to bed.
He's probably
That's
not
fair.
slept for weeks.
Yeah.
Because basically Nathan says, "I know Roy Kent," and Jay goes, "Is he your dad?" And Nathan says, "No." He says, "Please let us know if Mr. Kent ever wants the window table." And I'm like,
Yeah.
and then she just starts cleaning something and just
She cleans the
stops looking
menus,
at
but
him.
in the bizarrest way I've ever seen anyone clean menus as well.
Yeah.
Like spraying the air and wafting them through them.
I didn't know what she was doing. I had to do a second glance. Yeah.
That's the kind of like busy work you do to get rid of a customer. You're just done with dealing
Oh
with
yeah,
those,
yeah.
isn't it?
It's the equivalent of turning your back and just clanking bottles and stuff when you're on a bar.
Yeah.
It's, yeah.
Oh,
Again,
so
we've all
yeah.
done it to get rid of people. I have to go now. Yeah. Something falls in
Yeah.
the cellar and you do that walk.
yeah, it's like the old comedy trope of what? Oh yeah, I'll be right there, and no one called for you. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we see the team watching game tape. It's another loss. Isaac says, and Isaac is, I mean, Kola Bokini he's like this. I mean, he's
got
all.
angry face.
I can't even do the face. It hurts too much, right? He says, Jan Moss, that shit defending. Jan goes, "Yes, that goal was entirely my fault. I don't want to hear it. We need to get your shit together." Jan, he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I fucked up." You know what I mean?
Yeah, but Jan is very literal, isn't he?
Yes.
It's like, in the earlier episode, he was like, "No, that was all your fault." Oh, no, he's not rude. He's just Dutch.
Yeah. And every time something happens in the group setting, Dr. Sharon, she has to make notes. I'm like, it's become a plot device. Like, it ends up fine. But the first dozen times you see that, and the first, however many times you see her, like, "Oh my God, stop, it's making me nuts." Like she's, someone says, "Well, where are you going to go? Go to the store." The store? Well, we'll see. Like everything that happens, let's write this down.
But
You know what I
she is-
mean?
She's supposed to be there. She is like the ghost at the banquet sort of thing.
That's
She is
fair.
just always in the background observing and not chiming in, just getting the lay of the land before, because we know she's good at her job. Like she cured Danny of his dog murder. Like
Mhm.
she's
Right.
accidental dog murder, but dog
course.
dog slaughter.
Didn't bring the dog back to life, mate.
No,
Rest
but,
in peace,
she
Earl.
stopped him.
I'm saying.
Yes.
Earl didn't die for this.
No,
That's right.
but, like she's good at her job.
Yeah,
and like it's the fact is that Ted doesn't trust them because obviously Ted doesn't trust them because again, what we find out later on, he has a problem with therapists. But she is just doing her job. They've put her on staff. She's doing her job, but she is always, like you said, she's always just there in the background, just making notes,
Making
like
notes.
a grass in prison. Yeah.
And that's Ted's cue, guys, because when Ted sees this, he tells Beard to stop the tape. He goes to get up, and Nate blows the whistle and doesn't work. And he goes, "No, I gave you an indoor whistle."
An indoor whistle.
Because Nate's like, "What?"
He looks genuinely perplexed by it.
I think one thing like I noticed with Isaac with this scene, it's almost like they're making a big deal out of the fact that he's really struggling to like step into Roy's shoes to the point where he's like overcompensating to be like Roy.
Yeah. And Roy's shoes are big shoes to fill, but you can't copy someone that you're not. Yeah. So him using like Roy's techniques of, I'm assuming, intimidation and like that was about it. It isn't going to work because he's not Roy. Like we know he's not. We know he's a nice lad. Like they've all done the Christmas. He's like they've got a throne. Like you know what I mean. Oh. It's so he has to find what works for him. But because, like Jay said, because of the overcompensation, he's got into his own head with it, and he's just stuck in a loop of trying too hard to be something that he isn't. And it's yeah.
So Ted takes the stage in front of the guys, and he starts talking about rom-communism. I believe people saying there's something wrong with us, not the way I see it. I believe in communism, rom-communism. And there's so much stuff in here. We could spend 30 minutes just on this conversation. There's so much stuff in here. Bummercatch is like, what is rom-communism? He said, well, it's a worldview that reminds us that romantic comedies with folks like Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Julia Roberts, Hugh Grant, who am I missing, Coach? And then everybody starts chiming in. All these football players chiming in with, rom-com references, right? So we get Drew Barrymore, Matthew McConaughey. Jamie hits him with the three Kates, which is a nice little moment. But yeah, it's good stuff. Beckinsale, Hudson, and Winslet. Nathan says, you forgot Blanchett. And Beard says, different spelling. Is really good. Sam says, I enjoy Renee Zellweger and all the Bridget Jones movies. I mean, her accent is pitch perfect and her gift of physical comedy is grossly underrated. And they all do that thing, guys, where they're like, yeah.
Right? The Bridget Jones films are terrible, by the way. But
the only good thing about the Bridget Jones films is the fight scenes.
To be fair, when he gets thrown through that window, it always makes me chuckle. Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm in the States, and when I heard her do that accent, I thought that's not good. Am I crazy?
No. It's like they're not even good books. To be fair, like they're just like of our time, like the Da Vinci Code or that 50 Shades of Grey thing. They're just everyone read them because they were there, and But the fact that. See, I was thinking, do you reckon this is away game movie nights? They put on You've Got Mail. Because we've already made them watch The Iron Giant. Like, you know what I mean?
True.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, so I was just a theory that...
You can't watch something that's going to play on the mind.
And what better...
Like, they're not going to watch Saw, are they?
No, but what better than a rom-com? Because literally, once you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah. It's true.
You see?
True. And you would know, Joe, shameless plug for the Hallmark of Greatness podcast. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's it. It's once you've seen one, you know all the plots to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just various combinations of men and women. That's all it is. And different jobs.
Yeah. Ted says, and listen, they hit every reference in here, and they I was going to say expose. We all know the story behind rom-coms. Like you said, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. But we get the whole lowdown here. Ted says, you got to give it up for Zellweger. Point is, fellas, if all those attractive people with their amazing apartments and interesting jobs, usually in some creative field, can go through some lighthearted struggles and still end up happy, then so can we. And then suddenly Danny goes, Jennifer Lopez, just out of the blue. Just blurt
Danny,
it out.
despite his energy, is always like 2 steps behind the conversation.
Yeah. That's a great call, Danny, and not at all a beat too late. Danny's smiling and he's happy with himself. Jamie's smiling for him, and everybody's happy.
It's like a golden retriever, isn't he? He's just down behind the eyes, but he's happy to be involved.
It's so awesome to see. I know we keep talking about it. These people aren't real, but like to see Jamie there and he's one of the guys and he's laughing. Yes. Oh my God. It makes me want to cry. I love this stuff so much. I can't help it. Ted says, gentlemen, believing in rom-communism is all about believing that everything's going to work out in the end. These next few months might be tricky, but that's just because we're going through our dark forest. This is a great line. Fairy tales do not start, nor do they end in the dark forest. A son of a gun always shows up smack dab in the middle of a story. I love that. You know what I mean? That's tucked away in a silly little conversation about rom-coms, but it's awesome. It says, it may not work out how you think it will or how you hope it does, but it'll all work out exactly as it's supposed to. Our job is to have zero expectations. Just let go. And Isaac says, you heard him. We need to stop playing like shit, which is great.
Like, that's not what he said at all, but
that's what he said at all.
Fair play, Isaac. Like,
yeah.
You were kind of listening. Again, the Dark Forest thing, it's that classic Ted thing of burying deep wisdom in froth, in a light-hearted bit. It's what he does incredibly well. And it's only, I think like Roy learned it, it's only afterwards that you realise you've been taught something. When you look back at it, you go, oh yeah, you're right.
So we go to Ted's office and Beard, because I got to ask you guys what's going on in this one conversation. Beard says, hey, anyone know what's going on with Isaac? Ted says, I got no idea. Nathan says, maybe it's the piles. Beard says, I've accepted aubergine and snogging, but piles I will not abide. Someone help me out here because I'm lost. I never even looked it up.
Right. Piles hemorrhoids.
I had no idea.
Also known as Farmer Giles, because Cockney rhyming slang. I don't know. I can't think of anything else either at the moment. Aubergine, eggplant, I believe you call it. Which I've never understood why, because it looks nothing like an egg, but whatever. And snogging, making kissing. Out, French kissing. Snogging is kissing with tongues.
Ah,
no one really uses snogging anymore. It seems like a very 90s word to me now.
It is very 90s.
Yeah. But it is just it's you know it's we're two nations separated by a common language. Yeah.
I'm glad I asked. I never even looked it up. So Ted's looking at the calendar and Ted says, "Wait, we play Sheffield Wednesday." Beard says Saturday. Oh, we're playing Sheffield Saturday? Beard says Sheffield Wednesday, Saturday. Ted goes, we got to play them twice in the same week? And did you catch
who's on first, isn't it?
Yes. Did you catch when Beard's like, and then he starts talking, like takes a sharp inhale and starts talking? I don't get this either. So Jay, you're our football guy. This club is called Sheffield Wednesday. Where did all that come from?
Literally what Beard says. They used to meet and play on a Wednesday, so they were called Sheffield Wednesday. Now they play whenever because they're in the football league. But the name stuck because there's a Sheffield United, which would normally indicate that there are one team city. But then there's actually 3 teams in Sheffield: the Sheffield FC, Sheffield United, and Sheffield Wednesday. All of them play on days other than Wednesday.
Yeah,
that makes my head hurt.
Yeah, it's just essentially again, it's just another random name.
Idiosyncratic part. It's probably because they were factory workers and Wednesday was the only day they were allowed off to play football or something along those lines, isn't it? Because
more likely, they're a very old club
and a very industrious city.
The Steel City.
It's the Steel City. Yeah,
Pittsburgh. I was going to say,
yeah, you have your own. We have Sheffield.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I like when we can come together on stuff. That's fun.
We're talking about piles and steel.
Yes.
The worst crime-fighting duo ever.
I suddenly want to watch that show. That's great.
One of them can't sit down.
An all new episode of Piles and Steel. Their sergeant's yelling at him from the office. Get in here! Yeah.
And he just comes in, sits down, brings his rubber ring with him to sit down on. He's like, God damn it, Piles!
The other one stays just standing up because he's a girder. Can't bend.
What do you mean he called into work again? Ah! Yeah. Oh my God, that's fun. We're gonna have to do, yeah. Man, that's great.
If this doesn't work out, we can write screenplay.
Well, there you go. I'm down. Hey kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. BOINK, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. So Ted's like, this Saturday, I can't. I got plans. And Beard's like, I'm leaving. He just very deadpan, but Beard's whole shtick is deadpan. Dr. Sharon comes in. She says, Coach Lasso, is Isaac okay? No, ma'am, he is not. He's a wigwam and a teepee right now. I got that the moment he said it.
Oh, yeah.
He's just too tense. And they both go, boom. And that meme has been played a million times online. You can find it right now, I think, on all the social channels, which is fun. And then Nate chimes in, and God bless Nate, like Nick Muhammad, you have to like turn the volume up. And I put subtitles on all the time, not because of the accent, but because I don't want to miss anything. But I'm like, had I not had the subtitles on, I wouldn't know what he said. He's wound tighter than my nan's hairnet. They all just stop and look at him like, what are you talking about? He says, I guess that only makes sense if you know my nan. She wears a hairnet. It looks like puppies are trying to escape from it. That's good. He looks at the doc and says, I'm not crazy.
No, it's just Nate doing like Nate stuff of like, I have no other frames of reference apart from my family, and that's it. Like,
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, because doesn't he say something about his dad in the last episode?
In the Christmas one, yeah. He's a
difficult
man to buy for. No, he just hates everything.
That's great. Sharon says, do you want me to talk to Isaac? No, that's okay. We got it. I know exactly what Isaac needs. Thank you, though. She leaves, and Nate goes, what does Isaac need? I have no idea. It was just awesome. Usually in this situation, I have a player talk to the team captain before I intervened, but Isaac's our captain. And I can't very well ask Isaac to pull himself aside because, that'd be dangerously close to messing with the, what is it? Nate says the dark arts, and Beard says space-time continuum. That's it. Fact is, all right, guys, this is seed number 1 for Nate planted in this episode. I think. Yeah. Well,
the first big seed.
I'd
say up until this point, he's been preparing the soil. Like, this is when he gets his seed drill out and makes a hole. Yeah. That's a farming analogy, but yeah.
Ted says, fact is, Isaac is a big dog. And he's only going to respond to a big dog himself. And Nate goes, I'll do it. Ted laughs, and Beard gives him this look like, did you just laugh out loud? Like, it really felt like Ted's never intentionally hurt anybody. Okay.
No.
But in that moment, knowing what happens down the road, you're kind of like, man, he was so tone deaf right now, wasn't he?
It's like the first kind of real, like, for the whole season. Well, not even the season, for the whole show up until this point. Ted's kind of like treated Nate with nothing but respect. And this is like the first kind of, granted it's largely unintentional, it's just Ted being Ted, but
yeah,
it's the first like slight he's given to Nate other than
but they were all just like having a laugh and like mucking about, like, and he might have just started like, but yeah, you can see that at this point Nate sort of goes, no, I was being serious. It's and you can see that it cuts him a little bit because again, up to this point, nothing but respect for Ted and Beard, and yeah,
I feel like
it's ridiculous.
A lot of the dominoes start falling with Nate in this episode.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing for Nate to talk to anyone. Like,
yeah,
you saw how much he wet his pants when he had to do the thing in the changing room at the end of season 1. Like,
yeah,
and once he got into it and they were laughing, he was fine with it. But up until then, like, waiting for the ground to open and swallow him. And McAdoo's furious. Like, I wouldn't want to go in there and have a chat with him.
No.
He's already hasn't he already thrown a chair at the TV in one of the meetings before?
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
You see what I'm like? He's unpredictable.
He is unpredictable. And it's, they have a bit here where, they're kind of, Nate's like, he's very awkward again. He leaves the room and Ted's like, we're going to have to call in the real big dog, and he thanks Nate and everything. And Beard calls after him and says, I'm okay with Fanny. And Nate looks up like to acknowledge him, but Nate's not playing anymore. I mean, this is,
Ted does apologize. He's like, oh no, like he realizes what he's done and tries to make amends for it. But the first cut's the deepest, isn't it? Or whatever the phrase is, like. And you can see, like, especially like when he yells Fanny, Nate sort of acknowledges it, but yeah, there's no bants there anymore.
I think as well, obviously, like them mentioning like the real big dog, obviously meaning Roy. Like Nate's probably anxious that they're going to replace him with Roy, as opposed to adding Roy to the coaching staff.
Yeah, to be fair, because since Nate's been on the management, the coaching staff, they've drawn and lost most of their matches, haven't they?
Yeah.
So it ain't a great track record.
That's fair. Yeah. So we go from this scene, and man, there's a lot more to come. Just hold on for that. So we go from this scene to Keeley. She's in the hall looking at espresso machines, and here's Rebecca giggle around the corner. She asks, she said, "Did you giggle?" Rebecca's acting all coy. Yeah, she's responding with, "I don't know, did I?" And Keeley says, "And now you're doubling down on shy Rebecca, who is a fictional character. She does not actually exist, so something's up." So we had to mention here the rom-com references are aplenty. They abound.
Yeah.
They abide. I'm telling you. You got mail, all right? Rebecca goes by Boss Girl while her anonymous love on the phone, we know who it is, but we can't tell you yet, uses the username LDN152 on the show's dating app Banter. Tom Hanks's Joe Fox uses the name NY152 to chat anonymously with Meg Ryan's Shop Girl. So here we've got a reference here. So there you go. So Keeley to the players, she says, "Hey boys, come get your free Nespresso machines because I'm amazing at my job." Rebecca says, "People who are amazing at their job don't have to point it out." She's actually, that's not how it works anymore. It's all about promoting your brand. That will come back later. So this is awesome. She tells the guys not to forget to post, make yourselves an Americano. And Colin says, "I'll put something on my Insta right away." She says, "Do you think you can make this one post not about Welsh independence?" And he goes, "Yes."
All right. it's just like fleshing out these background characters a little bit. Like, all right, so he's really into Welsh independence, and what was it? His hometown paper think he's a worm or whatever it was that Jamie called him in that interview. Like,
that's right. It's
just these little bits that flesh it out. Is it Zorro who comes past and he's like, "Can I take the money instead?" He's like, "There is no money.
Can I trade this for cash?" Yeah.
That's great. Someone give me
ex-Premiership footballer. Like, why do you need 70 quid for whatever an espresso machine is?
That's what I was going to say. Somebody tell me why this guy would need. Yeah. Give me a 20-second Welsh, what are we talking about here? Just so I'm on the same page with everybody. Welsh independence. What's a very quick rundown of what he's talking about?
Right. So, the United Kingdom is made up of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, or West England, as I like to call it, and Wales.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And a lot of these countries don't want to be part of the United Kingdom anymore because the English Prime Minister have only the English vested interests at heart and nothing to do with this, that, and the other. And so the English granted them the right to rule. So the Scottish have their own parliament, the Welsh have their own parliament. I don't know about Northern Ireland. I think they do, don't they? But they want to be recognised as an independent country. The Welsh independents want to be recognised as their own country and not part of the United Kingdom. Because they're not even represented on the flag. That's the worst bit. And they've got the best one because it's got a dragon on it.
Yeah, that's true.
God, that's the flag to have. Are you kidding? Dragons are awesome.
You'd want, isn't it? Yeah. Ooh,
my God.
Get out of here. Dragon on it. On a motorbike with an axe. Like, that's what you want, isn't it?
Couldn't even
smoking a cigar.
Yeah. flipping off the other flags as it drives by over a load of school buses like Evel Knievel. Yeah,
Yes, with the cape. Oh my God, on a motorcycle.
If we ever form our own country, this is the
And we know the first show on our network is going to be
Piles and the Steel.
Yes. Jay, what did you have? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say we should put a dragon on the Union Jack.
We should.
I'm sold on that.
Well, it's got red on there. Yeah, but so?
Yeah, but the red's for St. George's Cross and the Northern Ireland flag.
I know that, you know that, but that's how they fob off the Welsh, isn't it? I can understand why they want independence.
You could have the dragon coming out of it like the ghost in the Ghostbusters logo.
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
And it's the world's first 3D flag. You've got to put them red and blue glasses on. Like,
yes.
See?
God.
It could just be a big dragon with like a Union Jack tattooed on its wing or something.
Yeah, and then Mam and Dad and a cross on the other one.
Wearing a Wrexham shirt because that's one of the big things to come out of Wales nowadays.
Man, this is the most productive brainstorm session we've ever had here on the show. This is awesome.
No, see, this is why I should be in a creative industry in a rom-com.
I'm telling you, this is great. Yeah, this whole bit back and forth. There's another rom-com seed planted here. We get a couple in this scene. Jumping around for a bit here. This reference that she says, the guy she's been talking to, Rilke, I think is the reference that was dropped on this conversation. This is a subtle, deep cut reference made throughout the episode. Rilke was a mentor to and had a great impact on the works of W.H. Auden. Auden's poem, Funeral Blues, Stop All the Clocks, is read during the funeral scene of this Curtis film from 1994. It is definitely an indirect, an indirect nod, but we think it's unlikely to simply be a coincidence. Quote is, our deepest fears are like dragons. What the dragon? There you go. Like dragons guarding our deepest treasures. Yes. She goes, oh, that is so hot. Maybe you're writing letters to a hung poet. And Rebecca says, is that a joke from Sex and the City? No, but thank you. That Keeley's bit where she goes, no, but thank you. She does. She's done that a few times. It's awesome.
Yeah. Keeley has all these little gems that nobody gives her credit for because they just see her as you know, like a page 3 bit of fluff. She's incredibly insightful and incredibly funny as well.
Yeah.
As we find again, I think one of my favorite Keeley lines is in this episode coming up because she's just she's almost in love with Rebecca.
Yeah.
Because it's who she aspires to be.
It's true.
Like that level of powerful and not having to compromise on anything because you're just who you are. And I think that's why the end of season 1 hurts a lot with betrayal and all that. But we're all back on even keels now. But Keeley is low key the best character. In
she
Ted
is.
Lasso.
Dude, she's awesome. And we get this bit with Danny who comes out. And Keeley says, Danny, enjoy your free coffee. Oh, I don't drink coffee. My mother says I was bored caffeinated. It says, and he asks her, is it okay if I give it to my neighbor? She also doesn't drink coffee, but her son does, and she's trying to encourage more visits from him. I'm like, why'd you feel the need to? She doesn't care. Why would she care?
Because he's polite, though, isn't he? He's like, I know this is for me, but I don't want it. Can I give it to someone else? And then he's trying to help out his next door neighbor's son to come and. It's like an incredibly sweet, again, golden retriever maneuver. Yeah.
And when Nate comes out and he goes, oh, free coffee makers. And she says, they're actually just for the players. And again, Nate gets awkward and says, good, I hate free coffee anyway. Always tastes so, and then he just wanders off. Like, yeah.
This is like this kind of like as well, because it's like come more or less straight after, like Ted laughing at him. It's like another like sort of snub for Nate where it's going to start playing into the kind of and getting a bit more resentful towards people.
Oh, we've been dancing around what's coming, but when we finally get there, we can stop dancing around it and actually start talking about it.
The end of this episode is, I think, when that switch gets flipped.
Yeah. 100%.
Totally agree.
I have issues with that end sequence. But
you like to get into the logistics of the thing. You keep us grounded. You know what I mean? You're like, wait a minute, that crap would never happen. So
no. It's just that's like that you see. That's when Nate stops being lovable, goofy, like shy Nate, and becomes something else. But I also feel as well that like a lot of Nate's problems are in his own head. Like Ted laughing at him like must hurt, but also like you weren't going to do anything. Nate. You weren't going to go and speak to him, were you? Like.
And if he did, like, honestly, how well is that going to go for him?
No, he'd end up
probably just
upside down in a bin. Yeah. At best, he'd be told to piss off. At worst, they'd be getting him off the goalpost by his underpants later on. Like, it's...
Here's a rewind. When they played the Liverpool game, Ted encouraged him and gave him the platform, and it worked. But instead of encouraging him this time, he laughed. So if you're Nate, right? Oh my God, that ties back, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Ooh.
Didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's good. So the next tune we hear, and I love that the music is always on point in the show. To Love What I Want and Want What I Love, Take 3 by Mabel John. Plays when Rebecca's in her office on Banter, and she's doing the thing. She's always in her phone, you know. And then suddenly Higgins is just there. Like he teleported into the room. You know what I mean? He's just there. Hello. So awesome. Oh my God. He says, we have an inquiry from AFC Wrexham. Just got a call from the new owners, Showbiz Magnates, Rob McElhaney and Ryan Reynolds. I can't tell if them buying the club is a joke or not, so I haven't replied to them yet. And we don't know. Do we ever get told what they're asking about?
Nope.
No, so the timing of this, when the episode released, would have been when they were still very much in the speculative stage of buying the club. Like they had to essentially prove to the board of directors that why they'd be a good reason to buy the club. And it was around that time that this episode came out. So that's why I tell a lie. It would, when it was filmed, it was around that time. When it released, it would have been just as they'd got the club. So it would have been in like that kind of time period where it was still like, oh yeah, is this just a publicity stunt? Because when it got announced, like, I think that's one thing with Welcome to Wrexham. And I know we were talking about it before, Tom. That doesn't do justice how much the UK media shit on Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhaney trying to buy Wrexham. Like, when it first got announced, they were like, well, this is a joke, isn't it? And that's why it's been portrayed like this. Because it initially, the UK media were all like, oh yeah, it's ridiculous. And now it's like, oh, the Hollywood owners, they still kind of like parody it a little bit. When in reality, it's like from watching that show, obviously, you know, that the heart's actually in the right place. They want to just like make this club like into something great. And build it from the ground up. But obviously, when this came out, it was still very much in the, is this a good thing for the club or a bad thing for the club idea? Which is why Higgins has said, I've not got back to them. I don't know if they're serious or not.
That's fun. I love that they included that reference. That made me happy. And I'd forgotten, honestly, because I've forgotten a lot of this show in terms of conversation. So Rebecca says, did you just see what was on my screen? He goes, oh, no. I have 5 boys. I never look over anyone's shoulder to see what's on the screens. I used to. And then he just pauses. So good. And then we get the title of the show because his phone rings and he's still got the ringtone. It's a song and it's Rainbow by the Rolling Stones. And it tells the story of, when they first met, he's playing the air upright bass and turns the beer on himself. And she's the only one in the pub that didn't laugh. And gave him a dirty bar towel to clean up with. They've been together ever since. So that's their song. And this is a great rom-com moment because basically this thread of, cliches and tropes of romantic comedies, this is another one, a happenstance. What do they call it? Meet cute. Is that what it's called? Where it just, yeah, there you go. So we're embracing our inner rom-com fans here today, kids. So again, it's one of those things, and that'll play back again as well. Rebecca sends a message, and because whoever she's speaking to had asked what she's on the app for, and what was she said, basically to find love or to fall in love with somebody, I think.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Something along those lines, yeah.
So she's being honest. Keeley's in her office drinking a smoothie. Nate's doing Nate stuff. He's just, wandering around and
that thing that like a child would do of walking past the door and sighing. And she's like, Nate, can I help you with something? And he's like, no. Yes, actually. Yeah. And it's like, again, like, you're a grown man. It's like, I know it's his character, but it's like, take ownership of who you are. Like, it's weird. It's always one of those bits, like, this bit, I was like, he is still a child. He is still. He is. Like, his father has made him this way.
Yeah.
But
emotionally.
But he's like, no, actually, I want you to make me famous. And Keeley goes, no, you don't want that.
He's like, I don't.
Is. No, well, she's been through it all, hasn't she? She's, all the paparazzi and all that stuff. She explains to him, and he's like, yeah, but like the groupies, he's obsessed with that idea.
And another little bit of wisdom here dropped into a silly conversation. You are who you are because of who you are. Because of who you are. Your intelligence, your talent, you don't want to go around messing with fame, which is awesome. He says, but being famous must have its perks. Famous people, she says, famous people get sent so much free shit, which is awesome. He tells her he knows what he wants, a window table at a restaurant. She's like, because that just comes out of the blue. That plus maybe some of those groupies. I'm sorry, that's degrading. I shouldn't have said that. And this is where she takes him to Rebecca, because if you take someone to Rebecca, because Rebecca's at the point in her life where she can actually begin to help people now versus scorched earth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And back to the point of the time jump earlier in this episode. She's also, right? You know what I'm going to say? She's also had time to get even better. More time has passed to deal, to grieve, to come to terms with what happened to her, what was done to her, right?
Yep.
So, like, now she's an even better person than she was at the end of season 1. Something to think about. So, Keeley takes her in, takes him in, and says Nathan needs a table at a restaurant. And I'm not going to begin to try to pronounce these restaurants. And Rebecca's pumped up, right?
She basically lists off like a load of Michelin-starred restaurants.
Yeah.
And Nate goes, no, it's a taste of Athens and Tooting. And she goes, well, I'll just buy the restaurant.
Because she looks at Keeley and said, not to Nate. No. She said, did he just say Tooting? What is Tooting? I didn't look this up.
It's just a borough of London.
Yeah.
What's the name from? Do we know?
Tooting Bec, I believe, which I think I honestly don't know. I mean, I could do a quick.
I really didn't know. I assumed it was something like that. Keeley says it's his parents' favorite place. Because she says, wait, you can't get a table at something called A Taste of Athens and Tooting? It's something.
It's like the most generic named Greek restaurant that he could have made.
Sure. Yeah. That's good. She mentions buying the restaurant, and Keeley says, well, you know the saying, you buy a man a table, he eats once. You teach a man how to get a table, and he eats at that restaurant until it becomes a Starbucks.
Until it becomes a Starbucks.
This is silly. Just be assertive. And she tells Nate to be assertive. He goes, yes, brilliant. Spectacular, lovely, wonderful. It's wonderful, perfect. Sorry, no. And he's all been out of shape. She's like, oh my God, we've got work to do. I love this that Rebecca and Nate are starting to cross paths more and more. When remember in season 1, she didn't even know who he was or didn't even know his name.
Yeah. Well, he'd run away, wouldn't he, if she came near him? And now he feels that level of confidence that maybe not directly go to her, but he's not ran out of the room with her in it. So he has grown as a person, and so is she.
Yes.
But it's Tooting it's been there since Anglo-Saxon times. So it's probably either some sort of weird version of a French name for it, or whatever. But yeah, it's just a borough of Wandsworth, I think. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very nice. I think I've been through Turin.
We go to the restaurant. We go to the kebab restaurant. Kebab. Because that's how it's. See, all right, so in America, we've got kebabs. K-O-B-O-B. And it's meat, vegetables on a stick. Right? It could be meat or shrimp or chicken or whatever. But here it's K-E-B-A-B. So kebab. So I'm trying to watch how I pronounce it. But like, give me the quick, because I don't know. Give me the quick explanation of what is a kebab. Because we were talking about this in the chat the other day. Yeah.
So a kebab is essentially a pita bread with, it's usually like, so doner meat,
lamb,
which is like, it's like a big like slab of lamb.
Elephant leg.
Yeah. That's like just got the meat shaved off it. So it's like thin, like ribbons of meat. They also do sheesh, which is like more like chunks of lamb, and chicken, which is usually like formed to be like a weird like McRib of chicken. Or again, chicken, like chunks of chicken.
Oh, you get shawarma and like
kind of like shawarma.
Shawarma is a type of kebab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kebab Roy's having looks really upsetting to me.
It fills me with fear. Yeah.
It's far too small.
Yeah. Oh. Like it is it's about lunchtime, so I'm guessing it's just like it's
like a local chip shop, isn't it? He's just gone to get.
But I think there's Turkish kebabs, which is this kind of kebab, and then there is like Indian kebabs, which are slightly different, and then there is like the weird ones on sticks ones, which you don't tend to get. It's all about the big circle, the big leg of meat rotating in front of a fire, and they cut bits off it, and then they're awful, but they're also the most delicious thing.
Yeah, you usually like you wouldn't get like in England, for me anyway, you wouldn't get them at lunchtime. You'd usually get them like after
when
you've been
hammered.
The pub. Yeah.
Although there is something to be said for a day kebab. Like,
I do enjoy a day kebab, but again,
just a weird treat on occasion.
That kebab Roy had was far too small.
Oh yeah, and there's too much salad on it, and
it was like it shouldn't be that thin. It should be like literally like overflowing with like meat and lettuce.
Nope. Again, for later on,
and then
the like, I'm good at making kebabs. I gave up. What was it? Being a doctor to do this. And I'm like, you should have stayed being a doctor because these kebabs are garbage, mate.
Oh, Roy says that he can't eat there anymore, and you know what? I would have had one there and probably gone no, never again.
Get up, touch of spice near me makes that red doner meat, which is like nice, as opposed to the weird grey meat you get.
Botan in Liverpool. Next time you're in Liverpool, Joe, we'll go.
I know. We were going to go, but we didn't. Anyway. Did you see as Roy's arguing? Take my picture down. You see who the other two pictures were?
I did not.
No.
One is George Wendt, Norm from Cheers.
Nice.
Who I believe is Jason Sudeikis' uncle.
I think you're right. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think we talked about.
And the other one is the guy from Mumford and Sons who sings the theme tune.
Oh, Marcus Mumford.
Nice.
Yes. So, and then Roy as well, with his usual dour expression in the photograph. And again, it's one of those. I don't know whether you have it like in America, but it's that thing of like rough takeaways and stuff will have pictures of local celebrities who have been in to buy a pizza and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's it's like my favorite story. I don't know whether it's there anymore, but there used to be a pizza shop in Liverpool. That was also a gig venue. And behind the counter, this will mean nothing for you, Tom, but they had a signed picture of Jimmy Corkill from Brookside. And I was in love. I thought, this is the best thing I've ever seen ever in my life because it's such a low rent celebrity.
That venue is still there, but the picture of Jimmy is no longer there. It's been rebranded now to something else, so it doesn't fit the aesthetic.
Oh, yeah, we have places like that here that'll put whoever came to eat there up on the wall and stuff. Yeah, I've seen that. So what's funny is that again, like the Higgins bit, when Roy turns around, Ted's just right there, and he says, "No way, fancy running into you here after asking Keeley where you were and scooting my boot right over." That is, And Roy says, she told me to expect a mustachioed surprise that would anger me. I thought it was going to be Wario or my great Aunt Natalie. That Wario line is fucking great, man.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh.
Again, the fact that Roy's eating the kebab off a plate's just deeply upsetting.
It is a weird thing. I've never, unless you're reheating it the next morning, why would you ever put a kebab on it? Let's just make him washing up.
Yeah. Normally it comes like a kebab will come in like a paper wrap, and then it'll have like a polystyrene tub or something that's in.
Right round it.
Yeah, just to catch whatever's falling out the kebab, because there'll be stuff falling off the kebab.
The nice ones from us are wrapped in tinfoil, then in paper, so you can unwrap them like a burrito and eat them that way.
Ooh, that is fancy.
Yeah, you see?
I get so incredibly hungry doing the show. I'm not kidding. I haven't ate lunch and I'm like, oh, it's killing me. Do you love films that have the same plot over and over and over and over again with only slightly different looking people in the main roles, but just don't have time to watch them all? You do? Then simply listen to Hallmark of Greatness, the only podcast that takes you through such masterpieces as Love at Sea, Love at Christmas, and A Volcano Sacrifice for Love. See a pattern here? Available wherever you get podcasts from, and also find us on social media by looking for Hallmark of Greatness. So they have a nice little conversation. Roy tells him that this place is like my church, and he wants Roy to join the, what do you think about joining the coaching staff? Fuck off.
Who knew transubstantiation could come with a bitter?
Yeah. He said, that's a solid negotiation tactic right there. I don't want to coach. I like what I'm doing, and I'm good at it. People tweet about me with GIFs and everything. And Ted says, I know some folks pronounce it GIFs, but I hear you. By the way, it is GIF, according to the man that created the thing.
Yeah,
so
it is, but GIF for me is squirty lemon juice.
But he's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
bathroom cleaner.
That's Sif.
Right.
Same thing, mate.
I'm not coming to your house pancake day then.
No, they changed the name, didn't they? From GIF to Sif.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't buy I buy the supermarket own. It's lemon juice. I don't need.
Yeah, I mean, I buy lemon juice, but I just remember when they changed the name because that's what they call it in Europe.
What is happening?
We have moments of one or the three of us going, wait a minute, what is, yeah.
What? Yeah, I must have been asleep that day. Yeah. Right. Okay, well, moving on.
He gives him the kebab and he asks Ted, he says, how is it? And Ted says, to quote Drizzy, that's Drake, kids, in case you didn't know, it's the best I ever had. Yeah, he says, it's the best I ever had. And that guy's very happy with himself because according to him, this is what I wanted to do. It's what I'm good at this, So Ted says, all kibbles and...
I've just had a moment with the kebab guy.
Yeah.
He was training to be a doctor, but then took a low-paying job doing something that he loved. It's a rom-com trope.
Yeah.
Well done.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, Wario then, sorry.
No, you're right.
On me now. Yeah.
I totally missed that. You're 100% right.
Because he does, he's like half does it to Ted and half does it to the camera as well, like as he's explaining his life story. And it's only just dawned on me now that it's the classic moving back to the small town and opening
the way it's
a pencil sharpener store or whatever.
The way it's shot, it's like he's telling the audience as much as he's telling Roy and Ted. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
Good point. Good catch. Ted says, all kibbles and bits aside, I'm really just here to ask you for a favor for an old friend, Isaac McAdoo. I don't think we've ever heard Isaac's last name till now, like said out loud, which I like the name McAdoo. It's funny. I don't know why I feel that way, but it's funny. Roy says, he's all up in his head, isn't he? Yes, and I need him to check out of there by Saturday. Got any ideas? And then Roy says, let me finish my kebab and pray on it. I'm sure that's a rom-com line at some point, but if it is, I don't know where it came from. So Ted kneels and does the sign of the cross, and he leaves money on the table, says, for the collection plate. And Roy says, well, this place is ruined now.
This place is ruined.
Right.
It's so defeated he is when he says it as well.
Like, never one to be overly dramatic, Roy, is he? But yeah.
Yeah. So the bit next with Nate in Rebecca's office where he's getting a makeover. Hello, rom-com reference. We got to give the girl a makeover because she's going to the ball. We got to make her look pretty, right? That's basically what we're doing here. And, you know, working on her etiquette and her attitude, and how she carries herself and how she speaks, right?
Take your glasses off and let your hair down. That's what normally works. That's
it. And every guy in the room who saw her yesterday goes, whoa, right? Yeah. They're stunned. A woman could put her hair down and suddenly she's not ugly, which is effing weird, but okay.
Oh, is that why when Nate stands up to Jade later, she's nicer to him? Because she's seen a different side of Nate.
Different side of Nate.
Confident.
Like she's all that, but worse somehow.
How can you beat? Yeah. Oh, well, we won't have to go there, but yeah. So, Keeley, they're like a role playing thing. Keeley says, "Hello, sir. Can I help you?" "Oh, yes. I'm Nathan Shelby, party of 3. Let's see, Mr. Shelby." "Yes, Shelby. Sorry, I should have said Shelby." And Keeley's like, "No, that is not your name.
That's not your name."
It's pretty close, right? Rick says, "Start again," and then the bit about her making herself bigger, but she's like, "Look, start again."
It's not that like she goes, no, like be more assertive.
Yeah,
and like Keeley goes, "Okay, Mr. Shelby." "No, it's not Mr. Shelby, you fucking slattern," or whatever he yells at her. And they're like, no, that's too much.
Too much.
Like dial that down. And it's like Nate is like just a man of extremes.
You dithering kestrel. I don't think I've ever heard that in my life. I don't even know what it means.
It's Shelley, you dithering kestrel.
It's just a bird of prey. Yeah.
And she's like, Jesus, like she's scared. You don't need to be loud.
I love the way Rebecca's like just like holding court like off the side. They're like, "No, that's too much."
Yeah. Next. Yeah. Oh man. She says, "You don't have to be loud. You just need to be commanding." He says, "With all due respect, it's different for me. You command every room you walk into." And she says, "Hardly. You ever been into a room full of football club chairmen?" And they felt the need to have him go, "No." And I'm like, I don't know why that stuck with me, but I'm like, they could have just had her keep talking, but they cut back to him so he could say no.
It's because she's asked him a question, and Nate is nothing if not literal.
But is that also seed planting for him rising in the ranks later?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? So she says every time I walk into one of those things, they look at me like some schoolgirl with pigtails. And Keeley has to say, "Oh, you look well fit with pigtails." "I do." She says, "I do." And then she moves on. And then tells him about the thing about her making herself big. And Rebecca Waddingham is 5'11", it should be said, because she's not a short individual. Put some 3-inch heels on, and now you're talking. I mean, she's up there, right? So she does the growl, and Keeley says, "Fuck, you're amazing. Let's invade France."
Let's invade France. And that's literally one of my favorite Keeley lines, right? Because it's just such a non sequitur. It just comes out of nowhere. And it's like, yeah, let's invade France. I'm on board.
Well, she's in such awe of Rebecca. She's in such awe. And like every time she fawns over her, that's laying groundwork for Keeley's life later. Yeah. Right? In all the references and everything. So.
It's when she does like the being big thing. Like Keeley looks at her with this wide-eyed, almost childlike admiration, and it's a lovely thing to see. Let's invade France.
That's great. Basically, Rebecca tells him,
Rebecca's stomping across the channel like some sort of gigantic kaiju.
Oh my God, that's great. Bullets are bouncing off of her.
Yeah,
it's important. It's important. She basically just tells him, "You don't have to do this, but just find the thing that works for you." And he does, and it's effing weird, but we'll get there. Isaac and Ted are together outside, and Isaac says, "What are we going to do with Roy?" And Ted says, "Same thing you do when you cross an elephant with a rhinoceros." Hell if I know. Which is a joke for a 9-year-old, but it still works.
It's a good joke.
Yeah. "Roy told me to bring you to this address ready to play. I didn't press him for details. You know how he gets." And Isaac says, "Fucking crabby, ain't he?" He says, "Heck yeah. Ain't no side eye like a Roy can't side eye." And Isaac says, "He's like 24/7 hangry." It's great.
But also, like, he's leading him into like the ends. Like, this is rough council estate territory, like where they're walking about, and like they're just following Ted's phone, and it's like, why are we here? He just told us to meet us here, and then Roy's phone dings. And you just get this uplit shot of him in the dark, and he's like, "Hello."
And they both do the jump scare.
Ah!
Oh my god, it's awesome.
I love that.
Royce, Isaac says, "What are we doing here?" Roy just turns and walks off, and they're like, they follow him. You know, they go to they come to an indoor pitch right near this, I guess, condos maybe or apartment complex, I guess, whatever you want to call it.
Block of
he
flats.
Says block of flats, yeah. And Isaac says the shit one.
I don't think it's actually indoor. I think it's just under like a bridge.
It's under it's under it's under a motorway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's an all-weather pitch. It'll be an artificial AstroTurf.
Yeah,
pitch.
it'll be AstroTurf.
But these are things set up by local council to keep youths off the streets, sort of thing.
Ah.
Yeah.
So council, you mean government? Is that what we're talking about?
Local government.
Yeah.
It's very boring.
Smaller scale.
Smaller scale, yeah. But look up at that flat over there. What, you mean the shit one?
Yeah.
I grew up in that one. And they both kind of go, it's very nice. It's kind of...
Oh, man. This is a great moment because he's basically, and this is a trope as well, but not a rom-com thing, I don't think. I guess it could be, depending on what film you're talking about. But this idea of you've forgotten why you're playing this game. You had fun at this. This was something you did as a kid. You've forgotten how fun this game can be because you can't get out of your own head, which is really good.
It does feature in the rom-com things of like, you started this baking company to honor your grandmother, and now you want to sell it to evil cake enterprise.
A cake core.
Yeah, it's a Nazi
core
pie division. Yeah, and this is where that thing of like they rediscover their joy of baking or playing football or owning a Christmas tree farm or whatever.
Yes. He tells Isaac, you're going to play with these guys. And then Isaac says, I'm a professional. I'll fucking kill him. And we see one of the guys. I don't know what the term is here. I was going to call it ball handling. Is that what we call that? What he's doing with his feet? Is there a term here?
Oh shit! What's it called?
I wouldn't call it ball handling.
Yeah, because to me that's the only thing I could come up with.
Techers. That's what they call it.
Techers. Interesting.
Yeah, it's essentially just like trick shots and like flair and skilled moves and stuff like that. It's usually like something that's done like in like competitions or street games like this. Like if you did it in a professional game, some players do. They usually end up getting a really nasty looking tackle on them about 2 minutes later.
Oh, because it's showboating.
Yeah, showboating. That's the word I was looking for. But
gotcha.
Yeah, showboating, tackers, all that stuff. So essentially, a lot of the people who like you see on like doing like moves like that, they wouldn't be professionals at like football. They'd just be professionals at that. But they'll have probably learned it from playing like on a pitch like this, where they can just mess around with the mates and see what they can do.
Yeah,
it's like playground attraction, but not professional guys.
Yeah. Well, it's
I don't know. There's a lot of money in it now.
Aren't the rules of like five-a-side different from like proper football as well? So like you can't shoot from like inside that semicircle.
Mm-hmm.
And like nothing over head height and all these other weird stuff. So you've got to do these little tricks and stuff to get by people and stuff like that. So that's where that thing comes from. I think is my understanding of it, my limited sports knowledge.
I was going to say essentially the reason Roy's getting Isaac to play here is because it's a lot more kind of bringing it back to basics.
Yeah.
There's no like real pressure on him to be the captain of Richmond in this game. He's just there to have fun playing football.
Makes sense. Yeah. We've got a thing here in the States that was called the And One Tour. And basically this tour traveled throughout the country and it was guys doing crazy trick passes and it was all basketball, right? But it's trick shots and the passes are insane. The dunks are crazy. I mean, it's technically anything you could do in the NBA, but it's much more about the show than it is about the game itself. So
if the NBA didn't pick him up, the Harlem Globetrotters surely would have.
Yeah, and we've had that too over here where there have been crossover stars that have went from the Globetrotters back and forth. So yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So Ted says, what about me? What do I get to do? Roy says, nothing. He says, oh, come on. Can I keep score? He says, fine. All right, I'm going to use my fingers. It's 0-0. 0-0. It's 0-0.
I'm going to use my fingers. It's just like,
right.
Oh, he's so just, oh.
He's a kid in the best possible way. You know what I mean?
And I think he does it deliberately to wind Roy up as well, though. Like, it's that thing. Like, he knows it's 0-0. But 0-0 just to get Roy talking to him.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
Well, it catches Roy off guard, doesn't it, when he does stuff like that? Like it kind of like ingratiates him to Roy a bit.
Yeah.
Because Roy, like, he acts like he hates it, but you can tell he secretly like loves it.
He's playing along now. He didn't used to play along before, right?
If you went from Roy, like episode 3 of season 1, Roy would not be here helping out McAdoo.
No,
like it just wouldn't have happened. But we've seen him grow and develop, and literally, like McAdoo runs out and gets absolutely mullered by a tackle, and he's furious. He's like, "They're gonna break my leg," and he's like, "Get up, stop crying." It's a really weird thing, but this is how Roy learned. This is what he did. I thought Roy went to Newcastle, didn't he?
He went to Sunderland when he was 9.
So this must be where
he would have been playing as a kid there.
There, right. I was just thinking of the timeline, but yeah, it makes sense.
I'm glad you brought that up because I never went back to look it up myself. But when he tells the story of, I'm like, is that right? Because he told the story in when what is in the Two Aces episode, right? When they were burning the stuff in the barrel, like he told that story, you know?
Yeah. It makes sense. The timeline lines up. I was just,
But to be fair as well, like obviously he went back to Chelsea, which means he would have been back in that neck of the woods. You'd imagine Roy's probably just like, because he's like, he says, doesn't he? You're no one here. You're literally just another person playing football. Like he probably would have just nipped in and out there when he was like at Chelsea, just to let off a bit of steam, and because they all know him, but they don't know him as like Roy Kent. They just know him as Roy.
Yeah, like the yoga ladies.
Yeah. So we're in the restaurant with Nate and his parents, and he tells Jade, Shelley Party 3. She says the correct name. Like, no, my name is. Oh, yes, that's correct. So he's wound up, ready to go.
He's already spoiling for a rumble.
Yeah.
And she's like, no.
He's awkward in front of his dad. His dad is a prick already, we can see.
Well, he really wants to impress his mum and dad, doesn't he? That's the whole thing. Like, it's almost like the crux of his insecurity. Like, he really wants to impress them to the point where he's panicking because all he wants to do is make them see that he's more than just quiet, like little Nate.
He's not just the kit man anymore. Like he is a coach for a ex-Premiership football team. Like he has ascended beyond. And I don't think his dad's like a knobhead. I think his dad is just one of those dads. Like dads of a certain age are just kind of quite stoic and don't want the fuss. My dad's like that. Like anything for an easy life. Like, you know what I mean?
And the father-son dynamic is played out throughout this entire series, all 3 seasons, to some degree or another. And, for our female fans out there and listeners and viewers, I don't know if it's like this with mothers and daughters, but this idea of got to impress my dad, got to make him proud, it is a very real thing. And it's so deeply rooted in your subconscious and in who you are who you become as a man. It's effing nuts, the connection and the bond. Even if your dad is the biggest piece of shit on the planet, he's still your dad. And you still always have that, you know what I mean? Again, I guess mothers and daughters have it, but I don't know if it's to this degree. So.
Oh yeah. So she goes to seat them at this table near the toilets, which is the worst table.
But
like,
as well,
it's gonna stink a wee in it.
Yeah. His dad looks like really disappointed by it.
Yes. Oh.
But he's just like, yeah, I'll sit here and eat my like. It's just whatever. It's anything for an easy life. I'm fairly sure like he didn't even want to come out that night. You know what I mean? But like his wife's dragged him out because it's our anniversary. And why is Nate there for his parents' anniversary? That's weird.
Well, he's just trying to do something nice, isn't he?
I know, but
yeah. And then we get the bit
it's
with
a big anniversary as well.
They never say the name, do they? Do they ever give the number?
35, Jade.
Was it 35? Oh, my bad.
Yeah,
Jeez, where have I been? God.
Joke from the start, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've only been in this chair for an hour and a half. What happened to me? Jesus. I'm back from my nap now, kids. My apologies. So, and Nate goes in the bathroom, and I'm disturbed by what he has to do to get himself pumped. He spits on the mirror and says, "You're Nathan fucking Shelley," and spits on the mirror. And I'm like, that's such a visceral, like macho. I don't know where the thought was to like, let's have him spit, but man, it's almost, what's the word I'm looking for, Jay?
It's almost like he's took what Rebecca and Keeley taught him, but he's took that knowledge and using it the wrong way.
Yes.
Like he's not being assertive, he's being aggressive.
Yeah.
Which is what Rebecca said not to do. You don't have to be loud, you have to be controlling. And he hasn't heard that. He's just heard. He comes out of the toilet and he is assertive and all this sort of stuff. But it's the spitting on the mirror, because someone else has got to clean that up. It's disgusting. And also, I'm Nathan Shelley. Who are you? It's that's not what she said. Like it's. And I think that's Nate's problem with it, is that he can't see himself in a position of power unless he's putting other people down.
Yeah. And even when he goes to then get the table, like he starts off by being a dick to Jade.
Yeah.
And like you can see she's like took aback by it. But then as soon as he gets what he wants, he's nice as pie to her.
Yeah, he shrinks back
and
again.
He's really thankful. And then she kind of like, again, like it's almost like she goes, like she kind of sees him like, okay, he's not as bad as he's coming across. But it's just obviously him, almost as if instead of controlling the situation, he's manipulating it.
Yes.
Yeah, good call.
It's a lot more kind of like vicious and a lot more aggressive than being assertive.
But it's also like he goes, "Oh, we want the window seat and we're going to sit there," and she goes, "Well, no, because," and he says, "No, we're going to sit there and we're going to eat our food so fast and then we'll be out the door." So he hasn't got what he wanted. He's had to compromise on it, even with his supposed new powers of, he still had to back down, to compromise on what he wanted, just to impress his dad, who, to be fair,
doesn't care,
isn't that bothered. Like, and he also whistles at his dad, and he's like, "His dad, I am not a dog."
Yeah,
that is a dick move.
Oh, mate,
has anybody ever done that to you? You're like, I've actually said to somebody, "I'm not a dog. Don't do that to me." You know what I mean?
When like on a busy bar on a Saturday when the football on or whatever, people whistling, people holding notes like that. Like, you're gonna pay. Like, but I'm good at my job, and so I know the order that you came to the bar in. And to be fair, if you whistle at me, you go right to the back of that queue, sunshine. Like, if you find I was next, but you didn't whistle, did you? Like, you can call me by my name. You all know my name. You're in here every night because you hate your lives. But it's just that thing of people who think it's like a power thing, or like that the person bringing you your food is somehow lower status than you. Mate, I could dribble in it if I was that kind of person. I'm not, and I never have. But the person bringing you your food and drink is in a tremendous position of like responsibility.
Yeah.
Don't annoy them.
Don't annoy them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And did we think, before we move on from this, did we think that there's maybe a double thing happening here, because he didn't spit in the floor or the sink or the trash can, he spit at his own reflection?
Yeah.
Does that have a double meaning here too?
Yeah, I think so. I think it comes from a place of self-loathing, doesn't it?
Yeah. where he just always feels like
Also-
he's never good enough, you know.
Also, you could look at it as him getting rid of the old Nathan
Yeah.
and the evil Nathan coming through the mirror world.
It's also kind of like a role reversal, isn't it, from the start of the episode to now, where like
Sorry. There are over
This-
9 mirrors in the mirror world. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like a role reversal with him and Jade from like the start of the episode, where she's looking down her nose at him, and then he's got this kind of like superiority complex over her at the end, like when he comes back and demands the table.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. So we get back to the game outside and some of the stuff that we talked about earlier, but you know, Isaac starts having fun again, which is awesome. I think it's like 9-3 or 9-4, and they're crushing it. They're just having fun, and you know, no, who cares about score? They're just having fun. But he's reconnecting with his passion for the game, which is important. Yeah.
Two things about this scene. First one, the girl who shouts Roy when Isaac goes over. I don't know if it's this scene or the earlier one. That's Enia Luco, who's an ex-England footballer.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah, she
Lovely.
England and Chelsea. She's very, very decorated women's footballer. Very good footballer. So it's cool. It's cool she got a little cameo. I did check if there was anyone else there who's like a footballer or anything like that. Wasn't anyone listed, but other than her. But yeah, cool little cameo.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Also, Song 2 by Blair playing.
Mhm.
They-
Overplayed.
Well, yeah. Well,
Garbage song.
it serves a purpose because in FIFA 98, it was like the opening theme of that, where it was a similar sort of thing where like people playing on like a pitch under a bridge and then moving to the actual football pitch, and it's just used in a lot of like football stuff because of that. So it's something that's kind of synonymous with like the sort of like football back to basics sort of thing.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah.
It was.
Well,
I heard it was like, it's quite smart they've done that.
We will take responsibility here in the States of ruining that song for the rest of the world, because I'm sure this is where it got played the most. So
garbage song by garbage people.
yeah. So you're an Oasis guy, I take it.
No.
Either.
I just hate Blur because, like, what is it? Like, the bass player has basically become Alan Partridge now, like, without the sense of irony. The other two I don't know about, and the other one, like, what's the meme of like a Gorillaz song? Guest rapper, I'm in the ends with my Benz, and then it's like Damon Albarn. Ooh, spooky Jim, where did you go? It's just like he's just made a career of it's whatever.
Well,
but song
Gorillaz
2 is a trash song.
Yeah.
Well, when they're talking here, amongst all this, Roy gave Isaac the pep talk about, you know, you got to reconnect with why you love this game. He said the word fuck a whole bunch. And he looks at Ted after Isaac walks up and he goes, was that all right? Ted goes, that was great. Too many fucks? I don't know. Kind of like all the nipples in that movie Showgirls. Halfway through, you don't even notice. You just kind of get sucked into the narrative. And then Roy says, I dated Gina Gershon once. And Ted goes, that makes me happy. I used to have a massive thing for Gina Gershon. I'm telling you right now. Oh my God, I love this chick.
Understandable, yeah.
Ooh. So yeah, it's a great deal. I love that Isaac's becoming more and more human, and you know, becoming an integral part of this team, and everything works out for the best. But then we get to the crux of this is that, you know, Ted really wants Roy to come coach, and here's the rom-com references. He says, I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life coaching with somebody, you want the rest of your life to begin ASAP. That's from When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
And the line is, when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible. And that's at the climax of that film. And Roy says, please stop. He goes, you complete our team. That's from Jerry Maguire. Roy says, you're an asshole. Ted says, I'm also just a coach standing in front of a boy asking him. And that's from When Harry Met Sally, then Jerry Maguire. And it's, oh my God, it's crazy. Yeah. And he says, listen, I'm never coming back to Richmond. Not now, not ever. And then Ted says, as you wish.
As you wish.
The Princess Bride, a very quick throwaway. Which
means I love you. Yeah. Before that, though, there is a very, very good Ted joke where Roy's going, I'm not coming back to coach. And Ted goes, I've got zero interest. Sorry, nil interest.
Yeah.
That's a great, he burned him, didn't he? That's good. Without meaning to, or maybe he meant to. He burned him.
Oh, he did on purpose. Yeah. It's like,
oh, yeah.
Anything to just wind up Roy. It's all for the greater good.
And of course, Roy has to flip him off on the way out, which is fun too. The next morning, Beard is waiting on Ted outside of his flat. Ted's running late. And Coach Beard says, set your alarm for PM instead of AM. Yes, sir, Steve Kerr. And then he gives him his coffee, you know. Beard says, you got down here pretty quick. He's like, well, I think a fella should only take as long as the tune Easy Lover by Phil Collins and Philip Bailey to get dressed in the morning. Beard says, makes sense. And then Beard asks about the joke. What does a British owl say?
You never finished it, did you?
Yeah. Never finished it. And he says, all right, whom? And Beard says, worth the wait. And he's, deadpan.
Join the Untitled Wrestling Podcast for all the latest pro wrestling news from around the world. Want to dive deeper? Interviews, fantasy booking, roundtable discussions, quizzes, video game streaming, watch-alongs, and a lot more can all be found on YouTube and wherever podcasts are available. You can also find the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Untitled Wrestling Podcast, and Twitter, Twitch, and Discord at Untitled Rest Pod. Follow, subscribe, and download today.
LOVE, Love by Nat King Cole is playing as fans file into the dog track. We see couples sitting together, and suddenly, out of the blue, this older couple that we've never met break the fourth wall and begin speaking to the camera. This is probably the most obvious nod to a classic rom-com, mirroring the camera-facing couples interviews scattered throughout When Harry Met Sally. And this couple's love story ends with them telling the audience that James Cameron stole their tale to use it in Titanic. And now
and we're still in litigation.
Did this feel like a pension or life insurance advert to you?
It did. Oh my God.
It was one of those bits. The first time I watched this, I was like, have I turned over? Have I sat on the buttons and something's happened? And then it goes like, and James Cameron was suing him. And I was like, oh no, we're still in this. But
no, we're still in Ted.
It's the only time we ever get this weird breaking of the fourth wall.
Yeah, I think so.
And I guess because it is a rom-com themed episode or whatever, but it's just really quite jarring because it's never brought back.
I'd completely forgotten about this bit. So like
so had I until I watched it, and I was like, oh,
when I got to it, I was like, I don't remember this. Maybe I blocked it out.
I totally forgot about it as well. And it took me out of the moment too, because I thought, wait, what's happening? Yeah. It was almost like a dream sequence or something.
Yeah.
So we see Rebecca and Keeley talking again. They're in the stands and they're waiting, and she's chatting up a mystery guy. And Keeley says, just stop at the foreplay. Tell him you own Richmond and you're fucking fit. And then as she's doing this, we cut to Ted in the hallway doing this.
Yeah. Little tease there, isn't there?
There's a lot of the cross phoning in this season. Not just with Ted as well, though. There's a lot of people walking around on their phones in the background of shots.
True.
I think it was like intentionally done as smoke and mirrors, though.
Oh yeah, totally.
But obviously, like without giving away who it is, because we'll get to that in a couple of episodes. It makes the payoff so much better that they're kind of trying to bait and switch that it's going to be Ted and it's not Ted.
It's who shot JR.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there's
Maggie
lots
Simpson.
of people. Maggie Simpson. Yeah. It's imagine.
Very true. Yeah.
You could put bets on that. But there's a lot of people in the background in the next couple of episodes when it cuts away from Rebecca on her banter phone to other people on their phone in the background and stuff. So it's again, it's just it's a nice little who is it?
As I say it,
whom?
The bait and switch of it makes the payoff so much better, I think.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
because you genuinely don't see that one coming.
No.
And we'll tell you soon. We'll tell you soon, but you have to be patient.
A couple of episodes away.
That's right. Be patient. Dr. Sharon stops Ted. She goes, Coach. Ted turns around and says, Doctor, floor, ceiling, trash can. Now you go. Which is great. Like, these rapid fire jokes that he delivers sometimes are freaking great. She says, I was just checking in, see how you're feeling. Oh, well, that's my nice of you. How am I feeling? I don't know. You know, I'm just dealing with the terror of knowing what this world is about. Watching a few good friends screaming to let them out. So you're feeling under pressure, and he has to go do. He's nice. God,
it's a dumb joke, but it's brilliant.
It works. It works. Rapid
I think if it was in anything else, it would come across as corny. But Ted just sells it with. I think it's like the dead, not deadpan expression, but just the. Are you in?
Yeah.
Like it's that thing.
Yeah.
Let's do a bit.
Let's. Are you in? Let's do this. Yeah.
She's totally in on it. She's like totally indulging him on it because it's
like we said in the first season with Rebecca. Like Rebecca has no time for Ted's antics, and now she's getting involved in her own antics.
She's sucked in.
I think with Dr. Sharon though, it's more like obviously she's realized like in order to get Ted to open up, this is what she needs to do.
Yeah,
is kind of indulge him in what he like. He controls a lot of the. Again, it goes back to the whole like thing with Nate with like manipulation and control. Ted controls the dynamic of a lot of the conversations by doing his bits, and it keeps Ted in like a position where he's more comfortable. It's not done in a manipulative way. It's done in a kind of a way of almost like a security blanket for Ted.
Yeah,
she sees that and can go, okay, well, I'll embrace that to make it like to kind of not lull him into
the armor.
Yeah, not lull him into a false sense of security, but to kind of like meet him in the middle with it.
Yeah. And again, I think Ted does it. It's a thing of so he never has to show like not his true face, but you know what I mean? He never has to put his heart on his sleeve, sort of thing. It's just Ted's bits, and you don't have to deal with Ted's personal life because that's not what Ted's about. Whereas Doc is like, well, if I play along with this, he'll let me in. He'll make a mistake. He'll slip up at some point, and then I can get in there and we can start trying to fix all this. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, because she says my door was always open.
We got all that from an under pressure joke.
Yeah.
do you think she obviously sees what's coming for Ted then on it, like on the horizon?
Does she know about his panic attacks?
Well, the only time we know about it as an audience is obviously the Liverpool episode. It doesn't really get brought up at all. So who knows?
Yeah,
it could be that maybe Rebecca's mentioned something, not to her, but to like maybe Rebecca's mentioned that Ted had that issue, and then obviously that's part of why they're bringing in the sports psychologist as much for him as Danny.
What else? Yeah.
And whenever you're going through something, it's going to manifest itself if you don't deal with it. And it may just you cry for 3 hours out of the blue one day, and then you feel a little bit better. But it will manifest, or you punch a wall till you break your hand. It'll manifest. Because it's bubbling up, and man, Ted's shit is bubbling up to the surface. I mean, you can
see
tell.
Him wringing his hands like a lot more, don't you, as each episode goes on?
Yeah,
it's true.
And like she knows that Ted's a good person and but she also knows he has an incredible distrust of therapists. So she has to, like you said, Jay, she has to meet him halfway.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, she says my door is always open. Then why even have one? Heck, Coach Beer could take that thing out for you, Jack Torrance style, with 8 good whacks. And then Beer comes out and says, 5 good whacks. Lumberjack World Championship qualifier, baby. Which is awesome.
Again, another weird bit about Beer that he was in a Lumberjack Championship at some point.
Yeah.
Because of course he was.
But I think
Of course he was. Yeah.
It comes back later on when they're talking about axes. Just bring all the axes. I'm sure it does. It's like he's brought his axe collection with him as well.
He says, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, because he's like, that man has had many lives, many masters. Boy, you're not kidding. We see Nate in a suit. Let's flash back to Make Rebecca Great Again, right? Or no, For the Children, when Ted had to buy. Is this the same suit, by the way, or is this a different suit?
Probably.
I think it's the same suit.
Is it?
I
need to think about that.
Didn't think to cross-check it, but I am assuming it's the same suit.
I'll do a quick check now for us.
He's not going to have bothered to go and buy a new suit. He wouldn't have the confidence to walk into a tailor's and go, I want a suit. If it is a new suit, it would be off the peg from, Top Man or,
because he doesn't want to bother a tailor. He doesn't want to bother the man to have to measure him because that puts him out. He wants to be sheepish and he doesn't want to bother anybody and stay in his lane. Joe, you're 100% right. This brings up an interesting question for me because, like in this country, NFL coaches are wearing sweatshirts, hoodies, slacks.
Yeah.
NBA coaches, a lot of them are wearing suits, like full suits. So, like in football, I've watched plenty of games over the past 2 months now, whatever it's been. But like, what's sort of the dress code most of the time, Jay? Are we talking these guys are well dressed, or is it sweater vests? What are we looking at?
Honestly, depends on the manager. A lot of managers will wear just like tracksuits or like whatever the training ensemble is for the team. A lot of some managers will wear a suit. Some will wear like a sort of like a button-down shirt and a sweatshirt with like suit pants. Honestly, just depends on the manager.
What was Thingy and his waistcoats? The England.
Yeah, you get Southgate has like his waistcoat, like a 3-piece, but he doesn't always wear the blazer. So some coaches will actually have like a blazer with the club badge on it. Again, there's no like enforced dress code for a manager. It just depends on like the manager essentially. Yeah.
Have you noticed in American baseball, all of the coaches are suited up like they're going to play the game? Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that. Yeah.
Like 70-year-old dude is with his beer guts going to like come trotting on the field to pitch.
So they wear like actual
the full uniform. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fattest baseball fury from the Warriors.
Again, I am not a baseball guy. I don't get it. America's pastime.
Just to watch a big fat dude in cleats.
What a reference there though to a baseball fury.
That's my only knowledge of baseball. I remember they used to show it on Channel 5, like when Channel 5 started here. They used to show it at like 1 a.m, and I thought, I'll give it a whirl.
Yeah,
it's boring as hell. Like nothing happens.
A friend of mine tried to get me into it, and he said that the whole thing was going was more for like the whole going for like getting drunk and eating good food.
Yeah,
is that pretty much what they do at baseball games, Tom?
I assume.
Yeah. Also, it's a different suit.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
It's a newly bought suit.
Oh, spending his
he went and spit on a mirror and bought a suit. So yeah,
we've all had nights like that.
I'm just saying. Yeah. Don't make me rant about baseball. I'll be here all day. So he's got the suit, and he asks Ted. He says, "Not too much," and Ted says, "Too much class? No such thing." And Ted really makes a point to go overboard to compliment him, which probably doesn't undo the damage from what he said to him when he laughed earlier. But you notice when Nate goes through the double doors, he pops through the double doors.
Yeah,
he doesn't just open one door; he just power walks through them.
Do you notice though as well that the doctor notices there's a change in Nate, and Ted's kind of just like, "Oh yeah, it's just Nate," but she notices there's something, and it's almost like she's looking at it like, "I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not."
Something's coming. So we go back. We're at the TV now, and Roy's doing his thing with the other pundits, and And Jeff is saying they're talking about the new 17-year-old player Matthew Kerr. Jay, is this a real person?
No, but
no? Okay.
This is kind of like very reflective of what, like, if you have like a player who's like very young, as one or two good games, then there's instantly they're in the spotlight. They're in the, like, this is the next big thing. It happened with Wayne Rooney. It happened with Harry Kane. Currently, there's what's his name? Yamin Lamal, who plays for Barcelona, who's, I want to say he's only just turned 16. And he's like playing in the first team, and he changed the game, and now everyone's like, he's going to be the new Messi. It's one of those like kind of things where they're always looking for that next big star. So when you get like a youngster who has a good run of games or has a good game, instantly they're under the spotlight, and it's just an unnecessary amount of pressure for a young talent. So that's why Roy reacts the way he does as well to this, because he's obviously been in that situation.
Good call.
And he knows what it's like to be on that side of like being kind of like under the scrutiny of the media from a very young age.
Yeah, because Jeff and George are doing their jobs, which Roy's supposed to be doing his job too. But he's like, what do you think he's going to do today? I don't know. He's 17. He'll probably have chips for dinner and a wank before bed. Like, he's truly like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like, Roy has stepped out of the conversation like Doctor Strange getting pushed out of his body, you know? What are we doing?
It's just such a Roy answer, though. It's just
It's
like
awesome.
The thing is, though, it's like, even though they're saying like they're looking for insight, it's like, if anything, it's the most insightful like point of it, because it's like, well, he's a kid. He's just started like playing like regularly for the first team. You can't expect him to like go in there and be a game changer from day one.
No. And again, like this whole speech that Roy does here,
it's outstanding.
Is tremendous.
Have you got it?
It really is. I haven't, no, because it's just one of those things where you just need to hear him, because
it's great.
It's just that we don't know anything.
He says, I'm looking for some insight. And Roy says, I told you, I don't know. All we do is sit around and guess what a bunch of little pricks are going to go and do out there. Then we come back at halftime and we complain because they didn't do exactly what we thought they'd do. We don't know. Of course we don't know. We're not in locker rooms with them. We're not on the pitch. He's not talking about this kid now. He's talking about himself, right? We're not on the pitch with them. We can't look them in the eyes and encourage them to be better than they ever thought they were capable of being. We're just on the outside looking in, judging them. This is awesome. You guys are right. This is a great moment. Yeah.
I love the delivery of this, where like during the speech as well, like Roy's realizing, I don't want to do this. I want to be a coach.
That's it. It's the slow realization of, oh, God, Ted was right, but I can't let him know he was right. But also, this isn't who I am. Like, he said from day one he didn't want to be a pundit, and he's only done it because Keeley sort of made him. Like,
that's a reference to a really famous film, isn't it? But I can't think what the film is about. A news anchor. Oh God, from like the 70s.
I couldn't tell you.
What reference are we talking about?
Roy, this scene. There's a film about a news anchor that was in, I think it was in 1979, maybe. Oh God, what's it called?
I remember the one. Was it I'm Mad as Hell and I'm Not Going to Take It Anymore? There's that flick.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
but, yeah.
I can't. Think of the name of the film.
Yeah, it's. I can't remember. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. God, I haven't thought about that movie in a long time. That clip alone has been played a million times. They show Isaac giving all the players creative handshakes. That's a very American sports thing to do. I don't know if it translates over there, but that's a very...
It's network.
Yeah.
Network. Well done. Yeah.
Thanks, Google.
Right. But
I was also Google.
I knew it, but yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that's what it's a reference to.
And by the way, Google, if you're looking to sponsor a podcast, holler at your boy. Just saying, we'll hook you up. So do you notice when Isaac's giving the creative handshakes to the players that he gets to Nate and he doesn't have one and he just messes with his tie? It's another little moment of, you didn't even think enough to even create one with me.
It's not even like it's meant to be disrespectful. It's just Isaac's like really upbeat, and obviously he's kind of got this kind of like new lease on life because he's got a sense of identity now as a captain and as a leader, and him obviously having all these different things for all the players, but then going to Nate and not really having anything identifiable with him. Again, it's like Nate on the outside looking in.
He and Ted have a handshake. He and Beard have a handshake. He and Nate do not have a handshake, which is interesting.
I just read it as the fact that like Nate was too afraid to get involved.
It's probably partly that as well, to be honest, though. Like, because, as I say, it's one of those things where because Nate's been so quiet up until this point and like as very sheepish that he's not like he hasn't really ingratiated himself into the group as much as all the others.
And even Cartrick is criticizing the handshake. You hear that, all you sports writers and pro wrestling writers who criticize every single thing that happens? He's at, well, look at this. It's loosey-goosey, isn't it? Teams on the business end of the regulation zone. And Chris, thank goodness for Chris on this show, says it's good to see McAdoo smiling again. And Roy just keeps leaning in closer and closer to the monitor. Because like you guys said, he's realizing, I should be there. So
also, he's seen he's made a difference because it's Roy. Like, what they don't know that Roy does is that Roy's the reason why Isaac's got that new attitude.
Yes.
Well done. Well done. Yeah.
And Roy realizes that his speech of like, you're not there making them be the best versions of themselves they can be. He's done that with Isaac. He has that thing now that Ted has, that joie de vivre of making other people's lives better through simple actions.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where he just goes, I can't do this anymore. And starts taking his mic off. And Jeff Stelling's like, no. And he's like, I have to go, Jeff.
It's the way he goes, Roy. And he goes, Jeff. And Jeff's like, I understand, Roy.
I have to go. And this is from Sleepless in Seattle. This is the line that Meg Ryan uses to leave her fiance Walter at the climax of the movie. Because when Jeff, he hears it, he just goes, I mean, the nod is intense, and Roy gives it back to him, and it's not a quick one. It's like a very well thought out nod. So after exiting the studio in the final sequence of this episode, Roy looks up to discover it's snowing before taking off at a run to ultimately hop in a taxi and make his way to Ted. This mirrors Harry's New Year's Eve run to find Sally, which also happens in the snow. So they're playing She's a Rainbow. The driver recognizes him, he says, take me to Nelson Road. The driver responds with, I'm headed home. It's my anniversary. I still haven't bought a present. And Roy takes out of his pocket what I can assume to be, how much money are we talking?
About $1,000 it looks, doesn't it?
He's a bit far away from home. Taxi driver was a Scouse and he's from the Northwest. What's he doing down in London?
Earning his fortune in the streets paved in gold of London.
Yeah.
He takes Roy as far as he can go. This is another Sleepless in Seattle reference, because just as Annie's cab gets stuck in traffic on her race to the Empire State Building, Annie ends up running up the rest of the way while Roy instead hops into the rickshaw, I guess. And in which, in this case, it's a fun callback to season 1. Remember the rickshaw from
the Liverpool episode? I also like the fact that the taxi driver.
Was it the Liverpool episode? No, wasn't it for the children?
Oh, it was for the children outside.
It is for the children. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Because they drive off with the bottles of champagne that they've stolen.
Yeah.
I love the fact that the taxi driver goes, "Oh, that's great. My missus loves money."
Yeah. I missed that. Yeah, you're right.
It's just like, I'm not going to buy her a present. I'm just going to throw this wad of cash at her.
What's funny is when he got him there from the cab, Roy says, I'll tell you the thing. Nikki Sixx said, the Motley Crue behind the music, you got to date your wife. He gave him a Tedism.
Yeah.
Roy did that.
It's literally like Roy's, like, not like becoming Ted in this, but he's everything he's learned from Ted up until this point is kind of showing the more this scene goes on.
Yeah, as the more it goes on, the more you see of like the manifestations of Ted coming through, because he gets into the rickshaw and he's like, "I'll give you this watch if you get me there." And I'm
See
like,
this really expensive new watch? I'll give you that if you get me to Nelson Roads.
Yeah, it's
That's fun. That's fun. And
At
of
least
course,
it's not
when
been stolen.
I was going to
Right,
say it's
yeah.
another time where Roy is losing a watch.
Yeah,
oh, good call.
But he doesn't need a watch. His phone's got a clock on it.
phone's got a clock on it.
I knew this was a great episode. I didn't realize how great till we got through the freaking thing.
So many like reference callbacks to this stuff. It's brilliant.
I love the timing of the song in this whole scene as well.
Yeah.
Like where it's I know we're not quite there yet, but where like Higgins meets up with his wife and it says she was there standing in blue and his wife's wearing all blue.
Nice.
I've just read as well that is actually the actor Higgins' wife, like his real world wife.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's why
I
they got
did
such
not.
good like on-screen chemistry.
I've just read
lovely.
it now. Jeremy Swift and Mary Roscoe are married in real life and have been married for 29 years.
Oh.
Explain to me how we got into season 2 and did not know this.
I don't know how we got through the Christmas episode and didn't know.
I know,
this.
right?
Yeah.
Dude.
Because they got different
Wow.
surnames. I'm guessing it's an acting thing, but yeah.
Next time we go through the show, we'll get a fourth dude on here and he'll know this stuff. So yeah, that he can do all the legwork, all the grunt work,
Phil
looking
Lindsay
stuff
wouldn't
up.
let us down like this.
Phil Lindsay would not listen. Shout out to Phil Lindsay. I'd tell him we shouted him out. Yeah, that'd be fun. Roy pops his knee out again. This can also be argued, guys, and Joe, you know these references for sure. Like as you're racing to get to the person, a car drives by and splashes water up on you, or a cab pulls in front of you and you can't move forward. It's always something.
Running through the airport thing and people getting it. Yeah, it's a trope.
It
This whole
is.
end section is a series of tropes. But while he's doing all this running, it's them going out for the match as well. So it's the juxtaposition of the two things together.
And he's running out of time. Yeah,
and he's running out of time. He gets to this is it as well. He gets to the gate and like the security are like, "You need a ticket." And he's like, "I'm Roy Kent." And he's like, "Are you?"
I love the way one of the stewards goes, "He does look like him."
He does look like him. So he goes, and has to turn around and hobble back up the ramp to the ticket booth where he's got a ticket waiting under the name of
Reba McEntire.
Which is a reference because
Episode 1 from Goodbye Earl, because Ted's been leaving him tickets in the name of country singers.
there you go.
I love the little kid sees him and he just goes, "Urgh."
Yeah.
But he's like, it's the guy in the ticket booth goes, "Oh, nice to see you back, Reba," and he just kind of shoots him a look like, just no.
He goes back to the two and she says, all right, enjoy the game. He says, "Fuck you." And she goes, "Oh, it is you." It's great.
There's a really, really good bit, like amazing bit in this, like here, where as he's about to walk through the tunnel, he cracks his knee.
Oh.
And resets it. But it's the same tunnel that he walked through when he was retiring in the last season. It's fucking awesome. I love it.
Great point.
It's that thing of where he hits his knee and then he stands up, and it's like, have you seen that bit in the original Superman where he changes from being Clark Kent to Superman, and all he does is just like puts his shoulders out? It's that thing of Roy reaching his full potential and becoming who he always was destined to be, and he walks out, and it is one of those, "Oh, I'm gonna cry" moments, because it's beautiful.
And I took it, I love that you took it that way, because I took it a different way. Because when he pops his knee back and stands up, it reminded me of Rebecca saying you have to get big.
Yeah.
And also, and you guys know, as something that you've got that's hurting, the moment it's okay, it's that rush of adrenaline, that rush of, oh God, I feel so much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and plus he feels better because he's on the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I love this fucking show. I'm just saying. Oh my God. And the crowd sees them, they're chanting, they're doing the Roy Kent chant. And this is great. Ted says, "Hello, coach."
Keeley sees him, doesn't she, as well? Like
He does.
first. And she goes, "Oh, holy shit."
Ted's like, hello, coach. Really glad you decided to shut up. Just shut up.
Shut up.
You had me at coach, which is Jerry Maguire, of course.
Yeah.
And when he does that, Beard goes, Beard just does a double take. It's awesome.
So go back to the song.
Yeah.
When it goes to Nate, there's the bit where the violins go all distorted in the song.
Yes.
And like really shrill. And like you see Nate's like panicking because he thinks Roy's going to replace him.
Yeah.
And obviously like Nate's there at pitch side in his new suit. Roy's there at pitch side in his nice new suit, looking like an actual coach.
The crowd are cheering for him.
The crowd are cheering him like a returning hero. And Ted and Beard are losing the shit for him. And Nate's just like, oh, God, what's he doing here? I mean, realistically, they shouldn't only have 3 coaches anyway. It's fucking ridiculous that they're so understaffed. But
it's the truth.
But it does that nice panning shot of like Ted and then Beard and Roy. All of them stood there like the Avengers spinny round camera thing, sort of.
Yeah.
But it is just Nate at the end looking furtive, shall we say?
He's distraught. He's in his head. His mind is spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and he's having a Doctor Strange moment of being out of his own body because he's like, what is going on here? Like, are they? Yeah, they're trying to get rid of me. Like, yeah, you're right, dude. Holy God. Yeah.
He's spinning in the wrong direction, though. That's the thing.
What an amazing moment. Yeah. Roy takes a deep breath and the credits roll. And as we said, this whole episode is basically like a love letter to rom-coms, I imagine. And I mean, Roy's trying to get to the woman he loves in the end, which is football. It's, I got to get to her before she leaves. I got to tell her how much I love her. I got to get to what I'm supposed to be doing in my life. Yep. This is it. Like, so much good stuff. And in the end, he got the girl, which is nice. So,
yeah.
There you go. Well, how long
Nate's like the smarmy guy that he's like stolen off.
Oh my God. Are you going to start digging us in again? That's not bad. He was the boyfriend that she went to. That's kind of a
that's no good for her.
Yes. Oh my God.
Spitting on all the mirrors.
We got another 2 hours to go here. That's awesome.
Dirty grobbing on stuff. Mr.
That's really good.
Up there.
So we reached the end, kids. So guys, what about takeaways? Do we have anything left after all this? This is such an amazing episode. Joe, what do you have?
There ain't much left that we haven't covered, but like I said, this is where all of the dominoes start to fall, really, in terms of the main storyline of Ted Lasso happens. This is where this is the lighting of the fuse of it. Everything up to this point has been setting the groundwork, and
this is the catalyst for where we're going.
Yeah, and it only gets better from here, if that's even possible.
Yeah.
What you got, Jay?
That ending scene might be the best shot, like the best kind of put together scene in the entire show for me. It's outstanding. So good. So, as I say, like even like little things like the way the song lines up with parts of the scene, like the actual thought that's gone into that whole thing. And as we say, it's like a love letter to like that like rom-com trope, but also it's just the whole thing's just perfectly shot.
That song's been in my head all day, and I've never been a fan of that song.
So it reminds me of, have you seen Legion?
Yes.
So in the first episode, that song's in it, and it's like in a really, really, really dark scene. So all I think of when I hear that is that like last scene where I'm like, what?
Oh man, yeah.
So to have it like the kind of like parallel to this scene, which is like amazing and really like, as I say, it's almost like hopeful, and compared to that, it's bizarre to me, but two very great and very different scenes in television.
Yeah. Wow. Such a great episode. And it's well said, everybody. What we said earlier about this is the episode that is maybe turning point's the right word for Nate, but yeah, things start to get real after this. Very real, very quickly. And episode 6, and we're only midway point with the next episode. Only midway point. 6 more to go, which means his spiral, his downward spiral maybe, just keeps continuing, and you guys will see. We'll get there. We don't want to ruin it. So you'll see.
Would that mean technically this is the midpoint of the entire show, with there being 10 episodes, or
so you got 34 episodes total, and right now we're at number 15, so we're close. Yeah, close. So 2 more. Yeah, good call. Yeah,
I think as we said quite early on, I think Jake said that Ted Lasso is literally a show of 2 halves.
Yeah.
It gets to the midway point and then everything kind of reverses out. And we're approaching that point now.
That's a good call. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. Can't wait to get there. I dread it, but then I also look forward to it because I know there's redemption for basically everybody.
Yeah.
Basically. We'll see. We'll get there. Eventually, yes. It's a marathon, not a sprint. That's it for us, kids. That's episode 5. Rainbow in the can for season 2 of Ted Lasso. Usually I end this show plugging a whole bunch of stuff and telling you what to do, and please go do it. Please and thank you. I got one thing to say to you. BoinkStudios.com. BOINK Studios, one word, .com. BoinkStudios.com. Every link that you need for this show, for Tom Clark's main event, for Tom Clark's 6M podcast is there. Links, the site's still being worked on, kids. It looks fun, I think. But we're going to have links to Jay and Joe's shows here as well. So never fear. Links to their social medias on the page, links to my social media. Two Nations Pod social media is linked on there. Everywhere you want to find this podcast is linked on there. You can Google it if you want to, and you'll find us. But if you want to save yourself some time and energy, BoinkStudios.com. Puts no money in our pockets. It just makes it a lot easier for you to find, and it's fun to look at. Who doesn't want fun to look at? Are you kidding me? That's why we do the video show. Give you kids out there something fun to look at. So
it's not as funny as my face.
I was waiting for some comments from the gallery here, so I thought I would. Yeah.
I didn't want to tread on your hard sell. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We tread on us is what we say. Our flag's different. So
it's got a dragon with like a massive erection on a hovercraft.
Yes. With machine guns. I'm just saying.
Yeah, arms. Yeah.
Oh God, I got to see that flag now. There. Oh, it's AI. We could AI the hell out of this. That would be fun.
Oh.
All right, before we get distracted, that's it for us, kids. Thanks for tuning in. BoinkStudios.com. Everything you need to know, go check it out. For Joe, for Jay, I'm Tom. We'll see you next time, kids.